Did you know that every 98 seconds someone is sexually assaulted in the United States? While those statistics are alarming, there's so much more that we can do. Follow along with us today as we join in support of an organization that is doing the hard work, Voices Beyond Assault. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to do what? Click subscribe. This video is for mature listeners only and may be triggering for those who have experienced violence in the past.
I want to thank every single one of you for not just supporting me and supporting Voices Beyond Assault, but standing in solidarity with survivors of sexual violence. I started Voices Beyond Assault because I was brutally raped and kidnapped in college. And throughout my journey, my healing journey, I met so many other people that said that's happened to me, or I know someone that that's happened to. And unfortunately, I didn't feel alone. However, God planted a seed in my heart, and I put the seed in some soil, and I just started meeting so many survivors. So I'm like, hey, do you want to go out to eat? Do you want to go to dinner? Do you want to go bowling? Do you want to go on a hike? Do you want to go on top of a mountain and scream? Let's do that together. And the beautiful thing was, when we came together, some people will come in despair, but they left with a smile on their face. And for me, that was my heart chakra. I knew, I was like, this is what I need to do, to create a survivorship community where survivors can come together, support each other, be seen, heard, felt, and in a safe environment where there is no judgment, there is no room for that at all, but spaces where they can heal. I always say that healing looks good on you, because it does. It shines through your pores. It shines like the way you stand up, how you look at people. It's not the most beautiful journey, but it's worth it. And survivors around the world deserve to heal and to have a community of support around them that's like, I got you. Whether you're not a survivor, unfortunately, within your lifetime, you will meet someone that is sexually or domestically violated. That's the unfortunate thing. And the statistics that Jenna just said, that's only in America. Just America. So imagine every other place in the world is affected by sexual assault. It has no bias. Doesn't matter how old you are, what race you are, your creed, your religion, sexual violence exists. So Voices Beyond Assault is here to really provide aid, resources, and innovative therapy for survivors to heal. And when I say innovative, it's, yes, I believe in therapy. I think it's so important to talk to a therapist and talk to someone, but there is something so beautiful about being within a community of survivors where you guys can do things together and activate your senses in a different light, in a different way. And sorry, I'm trying not to get all emotional, but this is, I know, my legacy. And I want every survivor to know that you're not alone, your voice matters. And whether you go around the world and share your story to everyone, none of that's important as long as you say something to someone, because you can take that backpack off, because it's not yours to carry. And, thank you all for being here, being supportive to survivors, and showing the world that there is solidarity and that community matters. And when I planted my seed in the soil, it's starting to blossom. It's harvesting, because all of you all are here, and it means a lot to me. We have this QR code, because the programming that I've done has been coming from my pocket, which is great, because I know it's gonna come back. However, to keep these programs going, which is we do yoga, we do sound baths, we do survivor retreats, we do pottery classes, we do pole dancing to fall in love with your body again. There's so many things that we do with survivors, and all these programs are free, because I know that healing is expensive. When you talk to a therapist, it's $200 an hour. Everybody ain't got $200 an hour. But we have these programs for survivors to come and feel welcomed without having to pay a cent. So $5, $10, $20, $100, $1,000, $1 million will help many survivors, and we also partner with certain therapists where we have a sliding scale where there's $20 an hour, $10 an hour, and we cover those costs for survivors. So we just want to continue these programmings because healing matters. It's not just good for yourself, but you're better for your family, you're better for the world, and you become a healer. And I always say that you're never healed, ED, you're constantly healing. But once you're in a good healing space, you become a healer to others. So let's come together, let's celebrate, let's have fun, but still understand that we're here to stand in solidarity with survivors of sexual and domestic violence.
Take accountability and change things within my life. Things that I didn't even want to look at myself. I wasn't even conscious of. Subconsciously, I was holding on to different things. And I think my healing journey manifested when I started taking real accountability of the things that I needed to change so I could blossom. And when we talk about our healing journeys, I also want to share that I had a big aha moment and revelation not too long ago that, you know, because we were used to abuse and we had acclimated to it over the years, abuse was our norm. We didn't know anything outside of that. So when I became older and started abusing myself, you know, through crappy stuff that I was putting in my body, food, you know, I had addiction to sugar, processed food. It was always my coping mechanism as a child. I never grew out of it as an adult. So I had this revelation that I became the abuser to myself as an adult because it was all I knew. And my body didn't think it was strange because besides the violence that we faced every day, I didn't feel that I was doing any violence to my body by what I was putting into it, but I absolutely was.
And also too, you know, because we have separate healing journeys, you know, I started my healing journey about 8 years ago, and I realized that I had to become comfortable with being uncomfortable because the uncomfortable was all I knew. So that means taking the coping mechanisms that I used as a child, which was through food. You know, I was eating processed sugar, processed foods. You know, I was in a domestically violent relationship for 5 years before I met the most loving and kind, wonderful partner, you know.
I can attest, y'all, he's my brother-in-law.
But you know, I had to take those coping mechanisms that served me as a child just to survive. But then as I grew into a woman, those same coping mechanisms were killing me. So I had to relearn new coping mechanisms that served me versus that did not.
And when we talk about our journey of healing, I just want to stress how detrimental shame is to the journey because I just released the shame 2 years ago. I had great shame. I didn't have difficulty talking about the violence that we experienced, but I had great difficulty in talking about the sexual abuse that we experienced every day. And, you know, a lot of times when people would hear a story online, they didn't understand how we had the power of forgiveness with our Father. We talked about often that we had forgiven our Father many years ago, but there was a great deal of anger that we held on to our Father. And I released that anger in our early 20s, but when I talk about the anger, people didn't understand, like, how can you forgive someone who's done these horrific things to you every day? And I said that I no longer wanted to hold on to the hate for anyone, even if he deserved it. Did our Father deserve our anger? Yes. Did I deserve to hold that hate in my body for him? No, I didn't deserve to hold that hate because hate has physical manifestations in the body, and I didn't deserve to treat myself that way.
And, you know, even though our Father to this day has not taken any accountability of what he has done.
With your permission, y'all know sing it with me. I just wanna spend a little time with you. With your permission, I hear ya. Hey, tonight I wanna be a little me. Yeah. Hey, with your permission, I wanna spend a night. Okay, hey, you know what I'm talking about, baby. Yeah, Hey, see, now it's time for you to show me what it's here for. Sip a little jack, baby, blow a little drop. Say, love you from behind, though I hate to see you go. Say it with me, say, give me that grace. You can let your head down, but only if it feels right. Oh, baby, come on, give me that green light. See, I want you, give me that. So come on, give it to me, baby, with your permission. What?
I haven't always been a survivor. Unlike Lord, for 35 years, I kept a secret. Over 35 years, I think it was. And I hurt a lot of people with that silence. I hurt my wife. I hurt my best friend in college by not listening to him when he told me his story. I ran from my childhood. I was in and out emotionally of my family growing up. And I found out that you can't hide forever. But I also found out that once you stop hiding, those who you love, those who you think are going to abandon you, the minute they find out what happened to you, the minute you tell them all the guilt and the shame that you had when you were in the last 35 years, ever since that abuse, if they love you, they still stay with you. And I am so thankful because my wife of over 30 years is back here with one of my daughters, one of my 4 children. Still though, after I told my story, I still felt alone, and I felt like I was the only male. I hadn't met Borwood yet, but I felt like I was the only male that could have possibly been sexually assaulted as a child. So I looked for ways to meet other people, and usually I joined a speakers bureau called RAIN, and usually I was the token male on the panel. And one day I was with Brianna, and we didn't know each other, and they asked us a question. They said, "So, what is your way that you relieve stress?" And we all kind of went around, and then Brianna said, "I do pole dancing." And this is where I show my age, because pole dancing wasn't, I kind of remember, not it being exercise. But so I started laughing. I just started laughing immediately, and Brianna's like, she called me up. She said, pole dancing, it's really good, you should try it. And I said, I don't think they could make a pole that could hold me. But we became friends, and she immediately invited me to a retreat in Santa Barbara. And I remember getting there, and I had this boot on because I had just broken my foot. And I was the only male, and I was looking around, and I only saw females, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never had met another survivor in my life, let alone male or female. And so I'm looking around, and Brianna comes over, Craig, and she gives me this big hug, and she welcomed me so much. And then I was like, okay, I'm feeling comfortable. And then I went out, and all these other men started coming around and coming out of the woodwork. Oh my gosh, you were abused too. And it's like it was just so much amazing thing to have other survivors be with you. And I waited 35 years to come clean, or I don't know how you say it, with your story, or accept my story. Lord hadn't, and I was like so excited to meet this young guy who had already started his healing process. He didn't wait for 35 years. He didn't wait to run from place to place to place. He had already done it, and I was so impressed, and I was like, this is what we need. This is what we need in our world. We need men to step up, tell their stories, and start healing much sooner than I did.
There's nothing to see here in the waves. There's nothing to eat, I still got the taste. It gives me the chills, it gives me the shakes. And each time we go away into the wild and out of the blue, you crept into my heart, promises blue. As soon as it starts, you tell me you're through. For a second you had it full. Such a pity.
thing would upset me. I mean, nowadays, I will stop in the middle of conversation and do a deep breath work, bothering me in a way that's gonna affect my soul. She really will, y'all. She'll be like, you know, that took decades to get there, but you know, all that anger that I was holding on to was taking up space within me. And I decided that you have no place here. Like, I need to rid all this hatred and anger that I had for this man to make room for growth and healing and love. Because when it's occupied with anger and hate, there's no way to grow. There's no way to heal. And you know, the forgiveness was most importantly for myself.
Now, I grew up in Canberra, which is a capital city of Australia. And this relationship, and I call it a relationship, went on with this man for 6 years. And it started out very rough and violent. He would beat me up. He would throw me against the wall and choke me out, to the point where I'd pee my pants or I would faint or pass out. And I say it started out very rough and violent, but then through his grooming, through his lies, through his manipulation, through him telling me that this is what I wanted, that my parents hate me, that he loves me and I love him, that if I say anything, I'll get in trouble with the police and he'll be fine. So through all that, I pushed my family away. I pushed my siblings and my friends away. And I fell into a Stockholm syndrome type relationship with this man, where I felt love for him. And I felt love for him to the point where I would ride my bike to his house and wait for him outside, knowing all too well what was going to happen to me. After those 5-6 years, he abandoned me, he left me. And I say he abandoned me because he disappeared out of my life. And the reason why he disappeared out of my life is because I wasn't a little boy anymore. Because I was growing up. Because I had facial hair. I was not this young little 8-year-old kid. So for 2 years, I questioned who I was. I questioned, you know, am I gay? Am I straight? Do people really love me? He told me how special I was. I was confused. I was hurt. The shame was already building, and so was the depression, the confusion. It was all there. And I was lost in this world. I didn't want to see my family. I didn't want to speak to my family. I didn't want to speak to my siblings. It was all about this man, and I wanted to be with him. And I felt angry that he left me. I felt angry that he abandoned me, because I knew nothing else except for him. So after these few years of just questioning who I am, what I am, where I belong in the world, who I belong with, from 15 years old, now I grew up next to the next estate, the next suburb over in Australia was an industrial estate. And in this industrial estate, there were a lot of sex clubs, gay clubs, cruise lounges. So at 15 years old, I would sneak into these clubs. I would let these men abuse me and rape me again, but then I would turn around and beat them up, bash them, rob them. And that was my fuck you to the world. That was my F you to the world. That was my way of getting my power back. That was my way of feeling alive. And that went on for many, 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 many years. And in those years, I guess you could say I fell in with the wrong crowd. And I started in on my addictions of drugs, alcohol, violence, sex. And I didn't care. I didn't want to survive. I didn't want to be alive. I tried killing myself, but luckily, someone was looking out for me and I'm still here. And so that went on for a few years. That went on for many, many years. I was then invited to go to New York to study and become an actor, which I did. And thinking I could get away from my life in Australia, I could start over again. I could, start afresh, no one knows me. But, it's New York. You can get what you want, when you want, how you want, for twice as cheap and it's twice as heavy as anywhere else. So I fell back into that lifestyle. I fell back into the drugs, back into the sex, back into the violence. I was shooting heroin, I was smoking crack, I was selling my body for sex. I tried killing myself again and I hurt other people. And it got to the point where it was now or never. It was do or die. I was going to end up dead. I was going to end up in jail or end up on the streets. So I finally reached out to my best friend, who I went to acting school with. And after 25 years, first time I ever said a word about this was 32. So after 25 years of silent suffering, after 25 years of never speaking a word of this, I finally told my best friend about this. Now she helped me get into therapy and speak to someone. So I started out in therapy, and I started with this therapist, and we did one-on-one. She introduced me to group. I then went to AA, Narcotics, Sex Anonymous. I went to rehab. If you could go back and speak to your 8-year-old self, what would you tell her? And I'm like, I don't know, because I had pushed it so far down. And I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to know about it. And she kept on me about that, kept pushing and pushing and pushing until finally it hit me and it came to me. And that thing I would tell my 8-year-old self, and I would say this to anyone out there, wasn't your fault. And as soon as I learned those words, as soon as I said those words and came to that realization, the weight and the heaviness started lifting off my shoulders. I was able to breathe again. And I was able to understand my relationship with this man, with my parents, with friends, with mothers. I was able to understand what I went through and the hurt I put on the others and the hurt that was put onto me. So realizing that it wasn't my fault was the first big step in therapy for me. The next big thing, and you know, I'm just a simple human being. So for me to find forgiveness was a hard thing, and it still is a hard thing. But more important than finding forgiveness for this man, and the ladies touched on it earlier, was finding forgiveness for myself. Being able to forgive myself for the hurt that was put onto me and the hurt I put onto others. And once I realized that, once I was able to find forgiveness for myself, I was able to breathe again. I was able to look inside and start to love myself and find the joy and find the happiness and find the peace that I've been longing for forever. And find that intimacy. And if we say intimacy, very, very slow. In, to, me, I, see. So when you're able to look into yourself, when you're able to love yourself, you are then able to love others. You are then able to find that peace. You are then able to find that closure and be able to move forward. Be able to let people in, knock down those walls. And I was finally able to have that relationship with my parents.
About the abuse that my sister and I experienced was because I reached a level of my journey where I felt comfortable, which is why organizations like Voices Beyond Assault are so important for survivors to provide them a safe space to share, because there's power in sharing our stories.
That's right.
Don't resurrect for Jesus. Jesus seems like nothing in the world can appease us. Jesus, some just wanna throw it at Jesus till they cease us. So one piece of this in the back of Jesus. Jesus, always wanna get on my knees for. When a little girl I plead for. Since they end me abuse every day, but we need more. Didn't think we make it to 18, so I scream more. Get to go inside what I need more. Then we all get hit. Don't like my skin, my hair, my attitude, my waist, my free what chooses. Yeah, pieces on my face, my mind that chooses. She can bring me down today, next week, no time, no way. I cannot be moved, a lioness, but still get bruised. But that won't stop me, nothing to prove. Survive trauma, there's nothing I can't do. I walk through fire, I've been abused. Didn't give up, you see this, I'm talking to you. I know my strength, and I refuse to let someone break me and tell me what to come to.
a dad. In a world where you didn't have the privilege to experience your childhood, pushed towards manhood at a young age no child should endure. To be consumed and misused by a legal system that dictated a fate that would try to make it impossible for you to prevail, nevertheless survive. To be criminalized of your mistakes as a boy instead of a chance to find rectification in your future as a man. To live and grow in a world that did not value your worth as a black man, so in return you did not value your own. To a man, despite all these obstacles, managed to endure and raise two girls that eventually would be the women to break the multi-generational cycle of abuse that you could not overcome. You are one of the most intelligent men I have ever known, a prodigy in engineering, math, and music, a voice of the likes of Marvin Gaye and Otis Redding, a comedian that could have sold out nationwide tours, natural skills of a prolific pianist, and a heart that at times was fighting to reveal the man you were meant to be. But in the end, you let the past define you, succumbing to the hate that consumed your ability to truly love wholeheartedly. You taught me to see the joy in reading and that education was worth more than gold. You taught me my sister's love should never be taken for granted and that anything was possible if we believed in ourselves, followed by action. You taught us to always ask questions if we did not understand the answer or uncertain of the authenticity. You taught us to never judge a book by its cover, for it was almost never how it seems. You taught us to treat others with respect, not by the position of their profession, but by the position of their hearts. You taught us others may underestimate our value, but never to underestimate ourselves. But most importantly, I can say you taught us to be strong, to let no one physically or mentally abuse us. While there was hypocrisy in your teachings, you unconsciously were building to strengthen us to eventually let go of the one man who would abuse and hurt us the most, you. Therefore, for our black and bruised bodies, you strategically covered up so carefully, never striking us in the face to disguise the abuse you inflicted. I forgive you. For each act that violated what a father and daughter relationship should be, I forgive you. For perpetuating your self-hate onto us, I forgive you. For not being able to truly love others because you did not love yourself, I forgive you. For each unkind word, each unkind gesture, each unkind touch, I forgive you. For fulfilling my life with so much terror and darkness for over a decade that the only way I thought I could escape was to take my own life, and this, I forgive you. As your blood runs through my veins, therefore hating you was in return hating myself. Though you hurt us, though you lost our trust, though I never wish to see or speak to you again, for these are the consequences of your atrocities, and the boundaries are my actions of self-love. I hope you know without you I would not be the woman I am today, and for that, I will be forever grateful. Thank you, everyone.
This is how I walk into a walk. This is how I walk into a walk. This is how I walk into a walk. This is how I walk in with my head held high, my head held high. You'll never catch me with my head down. Can't be eliminated, these things ain't not generated. Nothing made them matter, so they just try to imitate it. While hoping it's venerated, try to incinerate it. So know I can limit it, then I just don't eliminate it. Some things I commemorate, no so I emanate it. Never how I pop, so let me go demonstrate it. Hey, this is how I walk into the walk. This is how I walk into the walk. This is how I walk into a walk. walking with my head high, my head high. You'll never catch me with my head down.
This hurt was put onto me. This shame was put onto me. We are not born with shame. Shame was put onto us by someone else. And when I was able to own my shit, own who I was, own who I am, again, I was able to break down those walls. I was able to understand and sit in it. Instead of throwing it away when I'm triggered, when I'm depressed, when things hit me, instead of throwing them away like they don't exist, and I know we all do this, I was able to sit in it, see where it hits me on my body, see what it does to me, and then I'm able to move forward with it, educate myself, grow with it, evolve with it, because when we throw it away and pretend it doesn't exist, it's going to come back and kick our ass twice as hard. It's going to come back and build and build and build and build until we act out, until we hurt someone, hurt ourselves, do something stupid. I was able to let go of that ego, let go of that shame, and let go of that hurt that was ever consuming. And I'm sure we've all heard this before as well, where we've been told to get over it. Move forward. It happened 30 years ago, Nathan. Why do you keep talking about it? Why do you keep living in it? Because what happened to me, what's happened to all of us out here, is now a part of us. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of who we are. So it's not about throwing it away, because if we do throw it away, like I said, it is going to come back. And it's going to hurt us, and it's going to build and build and build until we act out. One other thing, and writing this letter, was my therapist said to me, this man who hurt me, this man who abused me is dead now. And people are like, that's amazing, you know, he's gone, but I never got to get my closure. I never got to sit and speak with him and ask him why me, if it happened to him. I would love to have sat and spoke with him. And I always said in the very beginning, I would sit with him and then I would take a baseball bat and kill him. Not for what he did to me, but so he can't hurt another person. But I've evolved from that, I've moved forward from that. But my therapist said to me, Nathan, write this letter and do what you want to it. You know, you can keep it on you forever, give it to a loved one, take it to your grave, burn it. But write a letter and write what you want in it to get that closure. For yourself, for your family, for your future. Because otherwise, again, you're just going to be stuck in that moment. You're never going to be able to move forward. You're never going to be able to grow. You're never going to be able to evolve. So I wrote that letter. And it happened in 2018, so it was 6 years after she told me to do this. I went home for my sister's husband died of cancer, so I went home for the funeral. And I remember the day of the funeral, I arrived back in Australia the night before. So the day of, my sister and me alone went to see the body. And I just started crying. I said, if I could swap places with this man now, I would, because he didn't deserve to die. And at that time, I was like, I did deserve to die. I do deserve to die. But realizing and writing this letter, I wrote it. I went to his house and I stood in front of it for a while. But then I went around the corner to the park. There's a little park there. I sat in that park and I sat with my thoughts. I sat with that letter. And the only gift, and I say a gift, the only thing this man gave me was a toy car. And that's why the memoir is called Toy Cars. The only thing he gave me was a toy car. So I went home, grabbed this toy car, grabbed the letter, went past his house. Then I went down to the local park, sat with it, and then I just set it on fire and let the ashes and the flames take it to the ends.
Sometimes we walk into spaces where we are welcome, where we are wanted, like tonight, this beautiful space that Rihanna has created for all of us. But sometimes we walk into spaces where we are welcome, where we are wanted because of the color of our skin, because of our gender, because of our religion, because of our beliefs, because of how we identify. But you don't need anyone else to make you feel welcome or wanted. You make yourself feel welcome or wanted. So when you walk into those spaces that don't want you, you say this. This is how I walk into a room. This is how I walk into a room.
also important how they share it and the people that you choose to share it with, because sharing it with the wrong person can be just as much as a detriment to your journey as not speaking about it at all. So this is a wonderful space, and I feel the beautiful energy, and it's amazing. So thank you so much for giving us the listening today.
Should there be hope for peace, let it be rooted in truth, justice, and freedom for all.
Together we heal, together we survive, and together we thrive.
Okay, y'all, tonight was amazing. It was so empowering and inspiring to hear the survivors courageously share their stories. To see the diversity of survivors is also really important. So I really appreciated that that was displayed tonight so that people can see that there is no ethnicity, there is no identity that is not affected by sexual violence. We thank you guys for watching. If you or someone you know is in need of support during the healing journey, please reach out to the featured organization in this video recap, Voices Beyond Assault. They have amazing programs available to help you or your loved one. For anyone who remains in an unsafe situation, please reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And of course, remember to always clear your browser after doing so and after watching this video until you are in a safe situation. We pray that all is well with everyone and that you have a beautiful healing journey. We thank you for watching. Please reach out and support these organizations. This is Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club, right here on YouTube, and Healthy Bump Club on Instagram. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in next episode.